over. My metabolism works effectively.
I hate myself.
I stay lean even as I age.
He doesn't love me anymore.
I believe in the most perfect outcome to every situation.
I'm not worthy.
I'll figure out how to earn it.
I'm just not creative.
I am healthy and strong.
Never do that.
I have found this energy. I found myself with winners.
I guess I just have to accept my limitations.
I experience abundance now and forever.
I can never say anything right.
God has great plans for me. I am grateful for my unshakable faith.
I'm never going to remember his name.
Everything I need, I already have.
I don't need this.
My brain works perfectly.
I can't.
With God, my future keeps getting brighter.
That's difficult for me.
My memory is crisp and vivid.
If my sister walks through that door, I'm going to be so mad.
I change what I need to change.
It's never going to work out.
I let go and I let God.
I knew my marriage was not going to be good.
I'm making progress.
I never done anything.
I control my thoughts.
It isn't my fault.
I am transformed by the renewing of my mind.
I used to have so much energy.
I pray for others.
Just hold up.
With Christ, I am unstoppable.
This is just who I am.
I can improve this situation.
We're just growing apart.
I ask and I receive.
I always seem to have to dip into my savings.
I learn scripture easily.
It's never going to be like it used to be.
I am supercharged with joy.
I'm not attractive to him anymore.
I'm ready for a breakthrough.
That's out of my price range. I can never afford that.
Day by day, my marriage is growing stronger.
She doesn't understand me.
I act consistently with faith.
I'm living proof of Murphy's Law.
I am bold.
Guess I'll just have to put up with this.
I am lovable.
No good thing ever happens to me.
I think about what is good, what is just, and what is gracious.
Everything I eat seems to go my way.
I'm learning a lot through this experience.
Nobody wants to pay me what I'm worth.
My lifestyle supports unshakable faith.
It's hopeless.
I surrender myself and my future to God, and I trust God.
So nice to have a coffee with you here.
It's so wonderful to see you.
Come on, come on.
So I have one question. Who do you have coffee with in the morning? We all have coffee with someone, whether we live alone or whether we get up early, whether it's tea, whether it's a glass of water. But almost all of us have a waking conversation. And it's that conversation that then becomes our attitude. And our attitude becomes our thoughts become our words become our actions, and words plus words plus words plus thoughts plus thoughts plus thoughts plus cumulative actions in our life add up to our experience. But I want you to understand that almost everything that happens to every one of us, good or bad, will always originate with one of these thoughts. Everything will always originate with an optimistic, I can do this thought, or a pessimistic, why bother thought. And that these secret conversations that all of us hold in our head, in the privacy of our own mind, if you will, they're shaping our destiny right now. They're shaping 2012 as we sit here and listen. Tomorrow morning when we wake up, there were 80 thoughts that we just heard, 40 and 40. Those thoughts that we think tomorrow are actually planting seeds that may not sprout for a month, a season, till next year. Because with every thought, what happens is it tends to race through our minds. And with thoughts, combined with thoughts, they become patterns and habits in our life. And then what happens is we're continually reinventing ourselves in our future. We're reinventing the potential we have in the future, or we're reinventing the impossibilities we have in the future. Because potential is a belief. Impossibility is a belief. Something that may be impossible to me is very possible to some of you. And something that may be impossible to some of you is potential for me. These are attitudes that we carry about in our life. And no thoughts are neutral. Understand when I say no thoughts are neutral. In the Course in Miracles, it says, there is no such thing as an idle thought. All thought creates form on some level. Every thought, according to the Course in Miracles, leads to two things. Every thought ultimately either leads to love or leads to fear. Ultimately, behind every thought, behind every belief, behind every attitude, behind all these conversations that we have in our head, we either love ourselves through an experience or we fear ourselves and repel the experience. And whatever we think about ultimately is always revealed for everyone to see, just like we saw this. We can try and hide it, we can try and fake it, but I want you to remind yourself sometime this week, especially in a moment of frustration or crisis. I want you to hear me say something to you. Will you do that for me? Okay. When you're in that crisis, I want you to hear me whisper in your ear. And what you're going to hear me say is, my thoughts are showing. My thoughts are showing. And so if we're pessimistic, doubting, glooming, sad, rebuking a potential opportunity that's showing up, baby, your thoughts are showing. And the opportunity will just get up and go to another table. It really will. Who wants to invite her for coffee again? But she did look stunning. Stand up, Judy. I want you to know, all hair and makeup was ordered, through Ayana. And I know they were here at, 6 o'clock in the morning getting ready. But let's give it up for Ayana and that hair and makeup. And she also does my goatee, just so you know. And if you want joy this season, you need a new coloring, a new goatee, new hairstyle. Am I right? Doesn't it? Things like that lift us up. The book that we're studying is called The 4-8 Principle. It's about joy. It's about reminding myself, yes, my thoughts are showing, but our thoughts also show in how we take care of ourselves, in the pride on how we look, how we walk, how we talk, how we show up. And when we persistently think all the time, what we persistently, habitually think all the time, Unity New Thought says it crystallizes. and becomes the actions and experiences of our life. Because every thought we have shifts our life in a particular direction. It shifts us. It's thinking our way through life is like driving. No matter where you are in the road, I drove from here to Columbia, South Carolina, from Columbia, South Carolina to Atlanta, Georgia, from Atlanta, Georgia, to Orlando, and then back to here. And I can promise you something. I could not take my hand off the steering wheel. Because even if you're driving in middle of nowhere, I-75, northern Florida, on a straight road, you have to make minor adjustments. You can't just, forget about driving and then just let the car drive itself. We can't forget about our life and let our attitude drive itself. Every day, every experience, every person, place, or thing in our life requires that minor adjustment. And many times we have to call this person and say, no, we don't want you to show up. And we have to call out Cindy, the Cindy in us. The Cindy and Judy, they're in us. They converse all the time. But who do we invite to the table? Who do we serve coffee with? Who do we hang out with? Who do we look for companionship with? People that feed this aspect of our character, or people that feed the greatness of who we are? See, it's a continuing, cumulative construction project. It's like if you've ever seen them build a 50, 60, 70-story building. They start by digging out like 8, 10 stories ground so they have a strong foundation so that they can lay the steel pipes into a foundation. And all of us sometimes we have to dig up our own foundation. Because our foundation was built on pessimism. The books that we're studying, it says, I love this book, man, and it says somewhere, the secret conversations you hold in the privacy of your own mind are shaping your destiny little by little. And unfortunately, the author points out, Tommy Newberry, he points out that approximately 90% of our thoughts that we have today are repeats from yesterday and the day before. And so if our thoughts are like the Cindy aspect, and we repeat them over and over and over, that's great. Because we'll wake up today and we'll take on a new project, and we'll sit down and we'll be able to confront a conflict in a healthy and communicative way that lifts up both people, that looks for what the real interest is behind the conflict. But then if we tell ourselves 90% of our thoughts today are like these 40 ideas, it's nothing but a big 2x4 that we beat up God's dreams day and day and day, because God has dreams for each and every one of us, and they're much greater than we can even imagine or experience today. 2012, it's a breakthrough year for this church, and if you're a member of this church, it's a breakthrough year for you. And so the primary reason why change is so difficult and why permanent positive life improvement tends to be met with stiff resistance is because 90% of our thoughts are reruns. But if you remember when I shared 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I said we have the power, we have the remote to change the channel. If we don't like the horror story of our life, watch a new channel. Listen to new ideas, hear new thoughts. This is our responsibility. It is our responsibility to take ownership of what hangs out in our mind. It is not required to think sad thoughts. It is not required to live by Murphy's Law. It's a responsibility, and it's a choice that every one of us make. And so what I'm here to invite you, and the book points out, is let go of perfection and let's just make some progress. All we have to do is make progress. If for the next 40 days we could kill one of these ideas a day and say, no, I don't speak with you anymore. I don't like you. You're negative, you're pessimistic, you're depressing, you're mean. No, I'm not going to every time I look on food say everything that I eat just goes right to my waist. No! Because believe me, your cells listen when you speak. I mean, look at Tim. Tim, how much did you lose this year?
65 so far.
65 pounds. Stand up. We're gonna, look. So I mean, it's about doing our part and letting God do God's part in us. And God is always a God of empowerment. God never speaks to us with this voice. Okay? God never says you can't. God never says give up. God never says you're sick, you're lonely, you're this, you're that. God is always the God of this. But if 90% of our thoughts come from this, attitude, then it's our job to change it. It's our job to change it. Make the shift. Your thinking is not random, reactive. Make a shift from a random, reactive, repetitive, negative, pessimistic thinking to a deliberate, purpose-driven, conscious awareness that every one of us here, we control our thoughts. We have the authority over our thoughts. I know it doesn't seem like it because it's so easy to blame and blame yesterday and blame the past and blame this one and blame the economy and blame so-and-so and blame my ex-boss and blame my first boyfriend and blame the HIV and blame the doctors and blame, but it's so easy. But I am telling you, we have authority over our thoughts. Even if there is no money, even if there is unemployment, even if there is HIV, even if there is loneliness, even if there is all of these things that keep, tearing us down, we have authority over our thoughts. God will not force us to listen to God's thoughts, Christ's thoughts, thoughts that empower, thoughts that heal, ideas that lift us up anymore then God will force any one of us to put a seatbelt on when we drive. Okay? You can choose not to wear the seatbelt. I think it's crazy not to wear a seatbelt when you drive. I personally knew 2 people in Kansas City. In the Midwest, there's this thing, but I'm too macho to wear a seatbelt. Well, I knew 2 people under 40 years old who died from car accidents not wearing a seatbelt just while I was there in 2 years. And one was the father of 4 children. Simply not where if he and the other guy had the seatbelt on, they'd be alive today. Well, how many of us, just repel and say, I'm not wearing a seatbelt because it's good for me? But how many of us listen to this person when I'm telling you it's not good for you? Belt yourself up in this seat for a while. Try it out. This is the seed of God within us. All of us have these ideas that float in our mind that are not true. But yet we live by them and believe by them and make decisions by them and act accordingly. Tim, man, exercises every morning. If I call him at 8 o'clock, he's on some treadmill somewhere. He's riding a bike 15 miles in Shark Valley. I'm like, no, I don't want to go ride a bike in Shark Valley, Tim. I like my air conditioning at Bally's. That's why I pay for it. I'm not going to get on a bike. I'm going to get on one of those little stationary bikes, and listen to my iPod. We have free will in our mind. And I know that people don't tell you this, and I know that this may be a new thought message for you, that you have authority over your thoughts, and if you don't like where a thought leads you, shut it up, turn it off, and don't listen to it anymore. You have authority. I know this is not what the news says, and this is not what cable says, and this is not what, TV says in our life. But this is the absolute truth. Right thinking is a choice, and we have to make that choice over and over and over and over for ourselves and build up a new habit that says, I can do this. We can consciously select our thoughts. And when we consciously select our thoughts, we are literally shaping our life into something spectacular. The alternative is to give up this freedom over and over and over again and live a life of mediocrity that's dominated by uncertainty and anxiety. It truly is. If we just keep listening to the I can't man or the I can't woman, I will tell you where you'll be on December 31st, 2012. You'll be in a life dominated by uncertainty, anxiety, and you'll be mediocre at best in everything that you've challenged. I know this may sound harsh. It may sound harsh, but sometimes I'm just here to afflict the comfortable, and I can't help it, and I have to preach what God tells me to preach. You know, in Romans, this 12th chapter, in the 2nd verse, Paul, who talks about transformation all the time, says, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I'm telling you right now, do not be conformed any longer to the pattern of national network news. Okay, I am telling you, it is going to I keep telling you, it is going to drag us through emotional hell between now and November 2012. Turn it off and turn on God. Vote with your heart. You don't need anybody to tell you how to vote. You're an intelligent man, you're an intelligent woman, and this idea that we have to hold on to the pattern of the world is wrong. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. See, the next line, what Paul says is, then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. And here is the test in your life. If your life is good and you're pleased and you feel perfection and progress, it's God's will. And if you feel mediocre and outside the reign of God or the kingdom of God, then it's not God's will. It's those old, repetitive voices in your head that are not God speaking with you. And so, unfortunately, what happens is most people try and change and renew their circumstances. In other words, we try and fix outside. Here's an example. I have to lose weight. I have to fix my marriage. I have to make more money. I have to find another church. I have to, get a doctor. I need a prescription. I need this. I need that. But that's not what Scripture says. Scripture says to ask God to renew our mind. And then trust me, circumstances take care of themselves. And it's tough to always look within, but it is where the ultimate infinite power of Christ in you will always transform the situation. See, when our minds are renewed, the circumstances don't matter anymore. They have no power over us because we become that new creature that Cindy spoke about. And so thinking about, well, how do I renew my mind? Think about quality ideas. Think about boundless possibilities. Set yourself free from this I can't person. Soar and thrive, because what I'm going to tell you is God intends you to soar and thrive. There is a spirit and a presence and a power of God inside you. And it is not a battle to get ahead. It only appears like that because we're so entrenched in pessimism sometimes. We have to fight a habit. But you know about a habit, it's hard to kick, but once you kick it, you do become a new man, a new woman. Minute by minute, hour by hour, there is this hidden, factory in our head. And we're building our lives part by part. We're constructing thoughts. We're declaring this is good. We're speaking this is bad or this is evil. We're attracting that which we think about all the time. We're labeling things and building the framework for depression or joy, for success or failure. We're writing our own life story in our head. And so if you really want to change where you've gone this year, and you don't want to rerun next year, renew your mind. Don't wait for a new president. Don't wait for a new government. Don't wait for something new. Don't wait for this breakthrough. Don't wait for that to change. Renew your mind. Let me tell you something. You cannot be held by worry without thinking worrisome thoughts. You cannot be gripped by fear without thinking about fearful thoughts. And I had my therapy this week. I always, meet with my therapist, and he was really confrontative this week. He was pretty tough. And I was thinking, wow, what's up with you today? You're usually a nice guy. He's like, I'm not being nice today. I'm like, oh, all right. And so he pointed out that all we really have is right now. And he pointed out something, that a blissful, wonderful memory is experienced as present joy. We don't really experience the emotion as a memory. The emotion is seated right with us right here and right now. And so when we hold joyful ideas in our mind, we create joy right now. And then he said, a gloomy memory from the past, something that happened last year, something that was hurtful, anything that you think about, we don't experience the emotion in the past. We experience the emotion of gloom and hurt as if it's happening right now. And so there's no point in holding on to hurtful memories, thinking, talking, worrying about what we don't want, keeps repeating and renewing our mind with that hurt us and that we don't want anymore. And so this is the importance of right thinking. It's emphasized, in the Old and the New Testament, in the Hebrew Bible and the Christian scriptures. It sounds like I'm teaching some new thought message here today. Some new thought message about mind and heart and spirit and joy and just, think happy and everything will be happy. And it sounds really great, Rev. But let me tell you something. In Proverbs, written 25 years ago, it says, as a man, a woman thinks in his or her heart, so is he, so is she. And so as we think, this is who we are. But in the 4th chapter of Proverbs, it says, keep our heart with all diligence, for out of it springs the issues of life. In other words, it says you have authority over what hangs out in your heart, in your mind. And the Hebrew word, so you understand, in the Hebrew scriptures was lev. It means heart and mind. It was a synonym. And so it says, keep our heart, keep our mind, keep our thinking with all diligence. In Job, it says, the things that I have intensely feared, they have come to me. So why would we obsess over our fears? Because then we become a magnet. And Jesus repeatedly reminds us that we will always receive what we ask for and we believe. So when Judy shows up, what is she asking for? She's asking to be miserable, lonely, overweight, sad, pathetic, trifling, Well, give me some words. What was Judy asking for? Help me. Doom and gloom. Come on. Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. What else was Judy praying for? Sadness, loneliness, unhappiness, lack, brokenness, right? Disaster waiting to happen. And so Jesus underscores in the Sermon on the Mount, he says, if your eye is good, your whole body is filled with light. And let me conclude on this. Your eye is what you see the world with. It's the attitude, it's the lens. If you know as a photographer, you can change a picture by changing the lens. You can take the happiest picture and make it look like a funeral by adding like a sepia tone, depressing, dark, colorless lens. And you know what happens in The Wizard of Oz when she goes from black and white Kansas to color over the rainbow. The whole movie just lifts up in joy just from adding color to the screen. When the eye is good, when your attitude is good, when what you believe and expect and your hope, today we talk about hope, is good, then your whole body is filled with light. And the body represents our life experience in there. And there was time where Jesus was challenged about washing your hands. Oh my God, you don't wash your hands like the old law says to wash your hands. And too often we think we have to wash our outer hands and not worry about what's going on inside. Jesus says what goes into someone's mouth does not defile them. But what comes out of their mouth, this is what defiles them. He says that people are defiled or made unclean by what is in their hearts. Because what's in someone's heart eventually comes out of their mouth as their words. Then their decisions cause them to act in accordance of what's in their heart. And so the great simplicity is found in James. A double-minded man is always unstable in all his ways. Too often we play this ping pong game. I'm good, I'm bad. I have hope, there's no hope. I'm going to get the job, nobody wants me. I'm here, I'm not here. I'm able, I'm not able. I want to change, I want to stay the same. I want to change, I want to stay the same. I want to change, I want to stay the same. I'm inviting you to change. Because that is God's calling for each and every one of you. There is a God idea in your life that's bigger than anything you can imagine. Let's just pray and experience joy. Let's read this book together and acknowledge that our thoughts are a reflection of the coming attraction of our lives. And that when every one of us work on renewing our minds, we are planting new seeds that we will reap next year. Christmas is about the birth of a God idea. And so allow these next 4 weeks, read the book, get the book. I'm giving out study questions, that you can work on during the week. Next Sunday, we're going to work on some study questions together. Allow joy to take hold of your mind and trust God, because God is a God of joy, nothing less. God never holds it back. Every one of us is a son or a daughter of God, and we are destined for as much joy as we are willing to believe and as we're willing to receive. That's enough for today. God bless you. Let's give it up.
That's it. Hi, Judy. Yes.